In the spring of 1968, the USS Scorpion, a skipjack-class nuclear attack submarine, was making her way back across the Atlantic. She was due to return to Norfolk, Virginia, home base for Submarine Squadron 6. The crew aboard was experienced. The mission? Routine. But something went wrong. On May 22, the U.S. Navy lost contact with the Scorpion. No emergency signal. No sonar pings. Just silence. At first, no one panicked publicly. The Cold War was in full swing, and submarine movements were classified. Communications often dropped temporarily. But inside the Pentagon, a quiet fear spread. The Scorpion, equipped with 2 nuclear torpedoes and a nuclear reactor, was missing. It wasn't until June 5, nearly 2 weeks later, that the Navy finally declared the sub overdue and presumed lost. By then, the worst-case scenario had already settled in. 99 American sailors were gone. What could cause a state-of-the-art nuclear sub to vanish without a trace? An internal explosion? Mechanical failure? A Soviet ambush? No wreckage was found on the surface. No oil slicks. No distress beacons. It was as if the Scorpion had been swallowed by the sea. The Navy launched a classified search effort, deploying ships, aircraft, and deep-sea surveillance equipment to scour the Atlantic, 2,000 miles from U.S. shores. They were looking not just for a missing vessel, but for answers. And somewhere in the black depths, the ocean held its silence. The U.S. Navy couldn't afford a public failure, not in 1968. The Cold War was on edge. Just weeks before, a Soviet submarine had gone missing. Now an American one had vanished too. Behind closed doors, the Pentagon launched a covert operation to locate the Scorpion. They didn't just deploy search ships, they tapped into one of the most secret weapons in the U.S. arsenal, the SOSUS network. SOSUS, short for Sound Surveillance System, was a classified web of underwater microphones stretched across the Atlantic floor, built to track Soviet submarines in near real time. For days, analysts combed through hours of deep-sea audio recordings. Then, they found it. On May 22, around the time the Scorpion disappeared, SOSUS arrays picked up a series of strange acoustic events, a rapid sequence of implosions, loud mechanical crashes, and finally, silence. They had a rough location. Southwest of the Azores, over 10,000 feet deep. Using triangulation and deep-sea sonar, the Navy slowly narrowed down the search zone. Months passed. The media was told little. The public knew even less. Then, in October 1968, the Navy's deep-sea research vessel Mizar captured the first images of the wreck. What they saw was devastating. The USS Scorpion lay broken on the ocean floor. The hull was cracked. The sail was bent. The forward section had imploded from intense pressure. No signs of life. No recovered remains. But there was something else. The wreckage was scattered, more than expected. Sections of the sub were found several hundred feet apart, as if something had violently ruptured her from the inside, or struck her from the outside. And just like that, a new question surfaced. Had the Scorpion been sunk by someone else? The discovery of the wreck only deepened the mystery. Internally, the Navy began a formal investigation into the loss of the Scorpion. But almost immediately, the process became murky. Reports were classified. Details were redacted. Families of the 99 sailors were told only the basics. Publicly, the Navy claimed the likely cause was mechanical failure, possibly a faulty torpedo or battery explosion. But many experts, both inside and outside the military, weren't convinced. Why was the wreckage so spread out? Why did the acoustic data suggest multiple violent events? And why had the Scorpion been diverted from her original course just before disappearing? Then came the whispers of Cold War retaliation. Earlier in 1968, a Soviet submarine, K-129, had also mysteriously sunk in the Pacific under unclear circumstances. Some theorists suggested the US had been involved in that loss, and that the Soviets may have struck back. Could the Scorpion have been torpedoed in a covert underwater engagement? Some declassified documents showed Soviet naval activity in the area. Others revealed that US intelligence had concerns about compromised submarine communications, possibly intercepted by Soviet trawlers or spy satellites. But without a clear smoking gun, the truth remained buried. And in 1968, the last thing either superpower wanted was open admission of a naval war beneath the waves. So the official report avoided conclusions. It called the sinking inconclusive. Behind the word was a graveyard of secrets. And on the ocean floor, the wreckage told a story no one was willing to admit. Decades passed. But the mystery of the USS Scorpion never fully faded. In the 1990s and early 2000s, new researchers, retired officers, and investigative journalists began re-examining the available data. Some had seen declassified files. Others had interviewed sonar analysts and former Cold War intelligence officers. And a disturbing picture began to form. One of the most persistent theories was that the Scorpion's own torpedo had malfunctioned, either launching accidentally or becoming armed while still inside the tube. Skipjack-class submarines were equipped with Mark 37 torpedoes, some of which had a history of electrical instability. If one had activated inside the sub, the result would have been catastrophic. An internal detonation at depth, causing a rapid implosion. Others argued for a hull failure, possibly due to stress fractures or improper maintenance. But those who studied the wreck imagery noticed signs that didn't align with either theory. The forward section of the Scorpion appeared to have separated cleanly, suggesting an external force, not just pressure damage. That reignited Cold War theories, a Soviet torpedo attack, or perhaps a secret engagement gone wrong, covered up to avoid escalation. And then there were stranger anomalies. Acoustic anomalies picked up by SOSUS that didn't match torpedo detonations. A missing section of the hull that had never been photographed publicly. And reports that Scorpion had been shadowed by a Soviet Echo-class sub days before her disappearance. Each fact raised a question. And each question found no official answer. To this day, the U.S. Navy maintains that the cause of the Scorpion's loss is not conclusively determined. 99 sailors died without warning. And the truth may have sunk with them. Today, the wreck of the USS Scorpion remains on the ocean floor, more than 10,000 feet below the surface of the North Atlantic, southwest of the Azores. Few have seen it. Only a handful of missions have returned imagery from the site, most conducted by deep-sea remotely operated vehicles during classified or research operations. The U.S. government maintains the wreck as a war grave, off-limits to the public, permanently silent. What's left of the Scorpion lies in two major sections, separated by several hundred feet of seabed. The forward hull is twisted, its torpedo room destroyed. The sail is bent and crushed by pressure. The nuclear reactor lies buried and sealed beneath layers of sand and silt, monitored but untouched. Despite the secrecy, a few select photographs have emerged over the years, grainy, quiet images showing the rusting skeleton of what was once a cutting-edge machine of war. To some, it's a monument. To others, a warning. The story of the USS Scorpion doesn't end with twisted metal or lost signals. It lives on in silence. Beneath more than 2 miles of cold Atlantic water, the wreck sleeps, untouched, unspoken, and mostly unseen. But it remains a chapter in a hidden war, a reminder that not all battles leave visible scars. The men aboard the Scorpion went down without warning, in a conflict no one ever declared, during a time of secrets, spies, and standoffs. Whether mechanical failure or silent torpedo, the result was the same. 99 American sailors, gone. No distress call. No survivors. No graves, except the one built by pressure and time. In that darkness, the boundaries between accident and intention blur. Between war and peace, silence and truth. For decades, families were left with half-answers and empty uniforms. Even now, their sons and brothers lie entombed in steel, surrounded by nothing but silt and water, a Cold War secret buried in the deep. But their memory hasn't faded. Memorials still echo with their names. Naval officers still honor their sacrifice. And stories like this ensure they're not forgotten. Because under every wave, and inside every wreck, there's a story worth telling. And this is Deep Sea Warzone, where sunken ships, forgotten missions, and silent tragedies still speak, if you're willing to listen. Subscribe now for more lost legends beneath the ocean, where every wreck has a story, and some stories were never meant to surface.